we are again, in a kitchen, your favourite place to be. I can't imagine how you could possibly afford it otherwise now that you've got fully into the Mr. Edwards Chef's Club cook-along. Now last week we had spaghetti alla carbonara, do you remember that? Really dead simple, nothing to it guys. Good basic ingredients, superb, creamy, luscious, delicious, scrumptious finish, okay? This week we're going to go for one of the classics, one of the French classics. Now, why am I doing one of the French classics? Well, most of you know that I am, in fact, French. This is an absolute beauty of a dish. And again, it is simple. It is Poulet à l'estragon. Lots of different ways of doing it. We're going to do it a really simple way that you can do at home. Now, let me run you through a few ingredients here. On the handy workbench, we have some chicken. As you can see, I have seasoned it with some pepper and a little bit of salt. Just remember, you're going to be a bit careful about the amount of salt that you put in, but it is important to use it and to season things. It's the cut of chicken is chicken thigh. You can buy them as fillets with the bones already taken out. You can buy them with the bones in and the skin on. You can use another cut of chicken. If you really want to, you can use chicken breast, which is the white part of the meat. That's the one that most people tend to like. It's not actually the best part, in my opinion, and it's certainly not the most tasty. I use the thigh meat. Okay, it's a little bit darker, but it's got a much better taste. If you're going to buy chicken, buy good chicken. I'm sure your mum and dad will insist on that. Okay, there's no point in buying anything that's really cheap and nasty and horrible and produced in our battery farm. Buy something that's good. Okay, then of course, if you use good ingredients, your end product is going to taste good as well. Going through the rest of the ingredients, here's a few mushrooms, okay, all pre-prepared as you can see. There's a little bit of cream, there is some mustard. Now, this is Dijon mustard. If you want to be really clever, you can use Tarragon mustard for extra Tarragon taste. Don't use English mustard, it's frightful when it comes to cooking, okay? I'm sure it's very nice in ham sandwiches, but that's about all it's good for.
Pork pies.
And pork pies.
Pork pies,
yes. Other ingredients are, today we're going to put in an onion. I don't normally put in an onion, but I just felt like it, and I thought it would be useful to teach you how to cut onions and cut things safely. We have a little bit of good quality but inexpensive white wine, okay, because you don't want to use your champagne in this. The champagne, quite the reverse, is for drinking. Now, on the hob cam here, you can see that I've got some fried potatoes going. I've just fried them with a bit of butter and a bit of thyme, and I'm going to add this garlic to them towards the end. Remember what we said in the last two episodes? Be careful with the garlic, okay? Don't burn it, so add it towards the end, you get a much more garlic flavour. Most important ingredient, naturally, is the tarragon. Tarragon is a herb that has a long thin leaf. It's very aniseedy. It's, I think it's completely seductive as a herb. It's got a really green, grassy, aniseedy taste. You don't need to use that much. As you can see, I've only got about a handful there. I mean, even that could be described as being quite a lot. Well, let's get on with it, shall we? In my frying pan here, we have a little bit of olive oil and a knob of butter, which we're going to heat up, okay, until we can hear it foaming. Now, what you can hear at the moment, sound man's going to come a little bit down, you can hear the sizzling of these potatoes. And that's good. We're going to keep sort of tossing them over like that. Okay, and eventually they're going to end up all beautiful, brown and crispy. Okay, if you think you like chips, try fried potatoes, much nicer. What we're waiting to see here is for this to start foaming a little bit, so that it's pretty hot. Now what we'll do is at that point there, we'll put in the chicken. I'm going to put it in on the seasoned side first, and add a little bit more seasoning on the side that isn't the side that's showing upwards, you see. Now you can probably see on the hob cam a little bit of steam coming up here. Alright. And it's soon going to be time to put in our chicken. Now, I've just probably got time to show you how to safely cut an onion. Here we go. You make sure that the ends of your fingers are not in the way. you'll be able to see on the hob cam here, I'm turning in the ends of my fingers like this. And I've got my thumb tucked safely out the way, but holding the onion at the back. Okay, there we go. And we're going to let the blade of the knife run down this knuckle here. Okay, there we go. Now, a real chef would be able to do this without lifting the knife up, but rocking it. I can't do that, so I'm going to do it very carefully. You can see I'm getting quite a good result here. And there we go. Very nice, beautiful thin slices. And I'm going to do the same here. Now take your time. I'm rushing a little bit because we've got to sort of get on with it here. I'm going to put the onion in first and get that going and soften that up. Okay? And then it'll be time, very, very quickly actually, to put in the chicken. Now in a chicken tarragon we don't normally add onion. I just thought I would try it out today. Okay, because I had an onion spare, as it happens. What have you not got in your house if you've got an onion spare? So there's a little bit of time for us to have a chat whilst I look after these potatoes. Very good smell coming up from those. Added a bit of thyme. It was dried thyme. You don't have to use everything fresh. In fact, sometimes dried herbs are very considerably more effective in certain situations. But thyme here, very nice. So we've had another week of school. I've got to tell you, I enjoyed it. It is quite tiring, isn't it, being on Zoom all that time. I hope you're getting your work done and that you're enjoying some of your lessons as far as you can. It's a great shame that we can't have you at school, as I keep saying, but hey, you know, any opportunity in life, right? People see problems as being opportunities, yeah? So, as I said to you in my very first episode, you may be in lockdown, you may be at home, it might not be ideal for you, but there's always, when one door closes, another always opens. There's always something that you can do. So I hope you've managed, if it's not cooking, I hope you've managed to take up some other interesting challenge and that you're looking after your mum and dad and your family and helping out at home. So not only, when you do these good gestures, these deeds of goodwill, these acts of kindness, not only do other people like them, it gives you a very good feeling as well. Right, now, if we were doing something like a risotto, we'd probably want to cook the onion a little more, but we're not. It's going to cook with the chicken. So here is my chicken. There's the seasoning. I'm going to put it in this side round and make sure that it has good contact with the bottom of the pan. Alright, here we go. You're going to be a bit careful doing this. You don't want to burn yourself, obviously. There it is. It goes in like that. Now, bit of important information. Chicken is delicious. We all like it. But it is a meat you need to be rather careful with. You must cook it through properly. You must store it in the correct way. And you must on no account ever let raw chicken or the juices or your hands that have touched raw chicken come into contact with anything else, because there's some quite nasty bacteria on it. So I'm going to put this straight in the sink and I'm going to give my hands a good wash. Here we go, with soap, yeah? Properly, there we go. For a good few seconds there. And then I'm going to dry them with a towel that I am about to see. Right here. Now, excellent. Thank you, director, absolutely on the ball there, absolutely. Cheers, by the way. Very good, this. Enjoy yourself whilst you're cooking. Obviously, boys, not with champagne, but you can have a Coke or something.
Bit difficult when you're holding the microphone or operating the camera.
That's because you're not the star. Now, when you've got...
I can multitask.
Okay, the camera operator can multitask beautifully. Now there you can see this chicken. I want you to leave it alone. Don't fidget with it. Don't start moving it around immediately. There's a reason for that. What's going to happen is that the underside is going to caramelise. Now, it might look like burning to you, but actually that's a really concentrated flavour. And it's going to collect in the pan. And when you later add wine and a liquid, or perhaps stock if you want to use. We're going to use wine because that's what we're like here. Okay, that's going to be picked up and contribute to the fullness of the sauce. One thing you need to do here is to season the other side of the chicken with plenty of pepper and a modicum, that means a small amount, of salt. Not too much. Just watch out with the salt. Okay, you've got to be a bit careful. All right, here's my potatoes are looking okay here. Now I can switch down a little bit under these potatoes. Okay, they can sort of stay very happily, sort of fizzling away like that. Well, we're going to leave that for a little bit before we have a look on the underside, and what we want to find is a little bit of golden colour. So I don't think it's quite ready for that yet. Speaking of which, I've just realised there's something I've forgotten to get out of the cupboard, which is probably something like that, which we're going to need later. There we go, just put it there. Right, at this stage, we're going to find, I hope, that the chicken is taking on some colour. Right, there we are. You can see that it's becoming golden. That looks lovely, doesn't it? Well, let's leave it alone for a little bit longer, make it even more golden. There we go. Again, resist the temptation sort of to do what I just did. Just try to leave it in place if you can. Though obviously you do have to check it a little bit. Wonder whether you've been keeping up with the news. Seems rather a long time since Joe Biden was, inaugurated. Let's hope that he was inaugurated. So I've maybe a bit of time to talk to you about the setup here. I am in the kitchen. It's quite a large kitchen. There's a sound man who is also the director. He's wearing a pair of headphones. There he is, smile. He does smile quite nicely, don't be too put off. And then I'm not quite sure whether we're going to be able to see her. There's somebody behind the camera. Okay, here they are. So every Saturday night we meet up because we're a bubble family, and we cook and we have a nice evening meal, and we watch a bit of telly afterwards, and we relax. And I hope that that's what you're trying to do at home, getting yourself away from your screens. All those Zoom lessons, crikey Moses. I don't know how you guys manage. I don't think I could do what you're doing. Now I think it's now time to turn over the chicken. There we go. We've got a nice bit of caramelisation. That's what you want. Okay, at least that much. Right. There we go. A little bit of browning there. That looks okay. All right. It's not quite as done as is ideal, but that's all right because we're filming in real time. By the way, we're not doing takes here. This is all one take. There's no faking it. It's all there. Now, that's looking pretty good. What we're going to do now, you're going to take some of your tarragon, you put about half of it and sprinkle it over the top like that. About half, okay? Not all of it. You're going to take your excellent quality wine and pour that in as well. Not too much. I mean, I would say roughly a small glass full. And now what you're going to do, this is where the magic happens. You're going to take your lid and shove it on, and you're going to leave it. And that is the beauty of this. You don't have to do much once you've started it. What's happening in there, you can sort of hear it bubbling away nicely. Yeah, go on, have a little look at that. Blub, 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 blub. Is that the wine is boiling up, and the steam that is getting created, that's being infused by the tarragon, and the chicken is cooking not only in the small amount of liquid at the bottom but in the steam, and it's a way of keeping it really moist and succulent but also introducing huge amounts of flavour to it. And it's going to stay like that for I don't know, at least 5 or 6 minutes I would have thought. Now that's another thing you need to be really careful about when you're cooking chicken, is that you do cook it through. It's quite a scary thing when you first do it because you don't want to eat chicken that is raw in any way. On the other hand, you don't want to eat chicken that is, dry as the Sahara Desert. So it's a question of, with practice, finding your way into somewhere where you can. Oh, there we go. That's quite good, isn't it? That's clever. That's good. Have you seen that? This little thing. Finding your way into somewhere that you can cook something through, but it remains succulent. And steaming in this way is an excellent method of maintaining succulence in the chicken. Now, we're going to take a small intermission. This week's theme you're going to see in a little bit, in a little second. Maybe it's time for you to make sure that your mum and dad are being well looked after. Remember what I said in the other episodes. We've prepped up well, we've got our washing up ready. A little intermission like this of 3 or 4 minutes is a very good opportunity for you to tidy up, clear up, get things put away so that your mum and dad don't have to do it later on. So I'm going to see you in a few minutes when the chicken will be ready. See you then. Well, hello again. Welcome to another small instalment of the Mr. Everett's Life Skills of the Kitchen. Now, you remember in the previous 2 or 3 episodes that you've seen here, there's always going to be a moment when I'm going to teach you something that you need to know. Now, whether you need to know it desperately or not desperately is up to you, but it's a really nice little thing to pick up. A tip, if you like, a kitchen tip. We talked about opening champagne bottles in a previous episode. Today I would like to talk to you simply about some very high quality products of the kitchen that you may or may not have come across before. Now you can see in front of me here, and obviously I'm never very far away from a bottle of wine, but we'll talk about that later. You see in front of me here a large leg of ham. Now this is a very special leg of ham. This is an Emberico ham. In fact, it's not the leg, it is the shoulder part. And this comes from pigs, and the pigs are from a breed called Pata Negra, black feet. And this is a speciality of various parts of Spain. This one happens, I think, to come from Salamanca. And the pigs are, they live in the wild, they're fed on acorns, and that's part of what gives this a very special flavour. Now there is ham, and there is ham, and this is ham. It's absolutely amazing. It's cured for about 3 years, 36 months, this one. So it's got a very, very deep flavour. And you need to cut it really quite carefully. It has to live on a special stand. Oh, and by the way, you can just see here the pig's foot. That's its trotter, right there. And before you say, that's disgusting, this is where your food comes from. You have to be realistic about the realities of food production. Yes, of course, a steak looks like a steak, but it comes from a living animal. And I think the more we understand about the animals themselves, the better the food we eat and the healthier our lives as a result. So here we have part of the shoulder. It's called paletta, and it's cured, and the hams are cured as well. Those are much bigger and consequently a lot more expensive. And they've got this meat, and you sort of have to sort of slice it. It's quite difficult to do it actually. Watching your fingers very carefully, because can be a bit careless with knives, and you'll shave off a tiny little sort of thin piece like that. You can almost taste the earth and the bits of the acorn. Absolutely delicious. If ever you get the opportunity on your travels to eat Emberico ham, do try it out. It's like no other ham you will have tasted. Now, what's next? Another fine Spanish product, which is by a lot of people quite underrated, and I think it's called Rioja. It's a wine. Now this is for your mum and dad, really, boys. You're not going to drink this yourself, unless you're very lucky and they allow you to taste it. Now again, it's like many other things. There is Rioja, and then there's Rioja, and it's become a little bit of an underrated wine because so much cheap Rioja, perfectly good, very drinkable, has been produced. And then they have the much more traditional Rioja, consequently a tad more expensive, but still affordable. Here's a very famous one, Lopez De Eredia. It's in Haro. That's a really old Rioja. It's 2006, but you can get them still drinkable, dating back to the 40s and the 50s. So 50, 60 years old, guys. Very interesting wine, very full, deep and rich. And another amazing Spanish product, highly underrated. Now we move to cheese. Now this is really the important thing I wanted to talk to you about. Some people like cheese and some people don't like cheese. Now if you don't like cheese, well, I'm sorry you don't like cheese. I hope you get to like it as you grow older. But once again, there is cheese and then there is cheese. The difference between the two being the method of production and the tradition that lies behind it. Here you have a very good Camembert, which you can buy very, very commonly in the UK. Le Rustique. It's excellent quality. I can recommend it, and it's a white cheese. Okay, we've been sort of nibbling away at this here. Here we go. A little bit like brie, if you like. Okay, it's a really good introduction to French cheese. Now, it's very important with cheeses, especially soft ones, that you don't eat them straight out of the fridge. It's very important you take them out of the fridge 1 or 2 hours before so they can soften up and become beautiful and gooey. Now, a Camembert, you know, it's quite pungent, means it smells a bit. And that can put people off. That's the one thing about cheese that you have to get over if you're not certain. Don't be put off by the fact that a cheese smells very strong. It doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to taste that way. This Camembert, for example, is a bit pongy, but it's actually very creamy on the inside. As you can see, if Mike pans in right here, you can see it's very creamy like that. Now I'm going to introduce you to a couple of my absolute favourite cheeses. They're made by, both of them happen to be made by Berthold, which is a cheese maker. This is called an époisse, and this is a cheese that comes from Burgundy. This is what you call a rind washed cheese. That's because when the original cheese is made, it tends to be white in colour. This époisse, I'm afraid I've eaten it, would have been orange. It would have started out that sort of colour. That is in fact called a petit Berthold, and that's like a mini époisse. And the époisse would have been washed in the spirit made in Burgundy, a spirit, a liqueur called Mar. And it's made with the grapes of the skins of the skins of the grapes once they've been crushed. It's a little bit like grappa, if you like. And the cheese is washed in that, and then it's left alone for 5 weeks. And then if you're a specialist, as I like to think I am, you leave it for several more weeks after that until it gets really quite strong. That is the cheese that puts many people off. Now, I have given or tried to give some of this cheese to some of my colleagues who I'm not going to name, and I don't blame them entirely, but they have absolutely reeled away as if there was something wrong with it. The reality is that is the way cheese really is, actually. It's not something that comes in a little square block in a supermarket. It is a real living thing, and it is supposed to smell quite strong, but the taste is actually creamy. So that's my little advice to you for today. I want you to have a go at some products that you may not necessarily have tried before. If you get the opportunity to try something new, always do that. Remember that this whole cooking series, is about getting you to start cooking, to try things that are different. And if it becomes the case that you don't try anything at all that's anything to do with cooking, that's fine. But take up an interest. Find something new to do when you're at home. It could be anything. We have so much to offer on our Firefly activity page, and there's so much that your mum and dad will be able to introduce you. I heard of one boy quite recently who had taken up knitting. Not something that you really associate with boys, but hey, why not? So I'm not quite sure what he's knitted, a pair of gloves for Bernie Sanders, I would have thought. But anyway, he'll definitely get some custom if he takes it over to Vermont and presents them to the junior senator. He was looking a little bit chilly the other week, don't you remember, at the inauguration? Anyway, that's my top tips for today. Bit of life skill, always try something new, and go for quality. Okay, here we are, back again. The chicken has been going for, I would say, what would you say guys, about 6, 7 or 8 minutes, that sort of time. What we need to do, because remember you've got to be careful with chicken, is we're going to check it out, alright? Make sure that it's cooked through. I'm going to take a part that's reasonably thick. There we go. There's a reasonably thick bit. And I'm going to chop through like that. Okay, so we can see that that is really almost done. Okay, that's probably okay, but not to eat right now. So we're just going to put it back. All right, here we go, here we go. Now, there's something quite important that I'm going to explain to you now. What we're going to do is we're going to take the chicken out of there. And we're going to put it on a plate and put it aside. During that time, the chicken will carry on cooking. Okay, even though it's not on the heat. Right? And by the time we then put it back into what we're going to do in this pan here, which is a little bit of magic, it will then have cooked through just perfectly. Remember, if you're in any doubt, it's better to overcook rather than undercook. Alright? And of course, remember, this is thigh meat, so it doesn't look white. Alright? It doesn't look white. I'm just taking those out now. Yeah, just like that, see? Yeah, in fact, that little bit I showed you is cooked. Yeah. If you're worried about that, you can, of course, always use a kitchen thermometer and ask your mum and dad. All right, just to be on the safe side. So there we are, there's our chicken. We're just going to leave it there for a moment. And now we're going to deal with this sauce. I'm going to turn up the heat. Okay, we're on 8 there. I'm going to put in a little bit more wine. Just a bit, not too much, okay? I am also going to add these mushrooms, which were pre-prepared. There you go, that. And one little bit there, I'm going to put that in. And a generous spoonful of Dijon mustard. You know, honestly, I'm not trying to be rude about English mustard, but it's really not the thing to use in cooking like this. If you can get hold of a mustard that is sort of slightly softer and less strong than really strong Dijon mustard, this one is absolutely perfect. One that is flavoured with tarragon, of course, that gives extra oomph to your tarragon taste. It's well worth seeking out. So here we go, I'm going to give a reasonably generous dollop. There you are. Right, I'll probably just put that down there. Put the lid back on there. And now I need to stir around for a bit. And what's going to happen, I hope, is that the sauce is going to amalgamate like this. And what's going to happen, we hope, is that the wine is going to boil off and the sauce is going to reduce. That means it's going to get a little bit thicker. And as it reduces, as the amount of liquid gets lower and lower, the flavour intensifies. And at that point, we will add in a little bit of cream for luxury. You all like a bit of luxury? Right, we'll leave that alone for a little minute there, just to sort of get itself going. I've got my fried potatoes going right here. These are quite good ones. I don't know how you like to do it. Your mum and dad will have their favourite way. You might have your favourite way. I like to leave the skins on because I think the skins are quite tasty. But now I'm going to add my final potato flourish, which is the garlic. We're not going to add that before, we're going to add that at the end so that we get that real garlic taste. There we go, see? We'll throw that around a little bit and hopefully that will be nearly done for the potatoes. Now I've already put, try not to spill the potatoes over the side of the pan, it's always a good thing. Okay, there we are. Now you can see here on the chicken side, it's beginning to get a little thicker. The smell is it's very strong, it's potent. You've got a lot of tarragony, mustardy smell in there. You've got a strong chicken smell in there. You've got a little bit of onion sweetness. In fact, the onion seems to work quite well. I think I might use it again when I do this. It's not something you normally see in a chicken tarragon, but it works okay. And remember, these recipes are very adaptable. The recipe for chicken tarragon is what you call a classic fricassee, and it works the same however you do it. You cook the meat, you add whatever else you add a bit of cream, and that's it. You know, and it's very easy to do, and it's incredibly delicious. This is quite traditional to the area of France where I come from, although you sort of find things like this everywhere. I come from quite near the Anjou, just south in the Vendée, and Poulet à Tarragon is a classic Angevin dish. There we go. You can see that's getting reasonably thick now. You could serve it like that, but I think you may find it probably a bit strong. Here's my chicken that we left earlier. I'm not putting it back yet, but there's going to be some quite delicious juices. I'm going to always make sure that the juices can find their way back in. Because in the juice that's come out of that chicken as it's been resting, there's a lot of flavour. And really good cooking like this, good home cooking, is all about recycling flavour, not throwing away anything that could add to the depth and the richness of your dish. And now it's time for cream. Now you don't have to put in cream. Well, actually you do have to put in cream. I'm going to change my mind about that. There's no point in doing this dish if you're not going to add any cream. I'm not going to add a massive amount, alright fellas? There's no point in doing that. Now this is what a sort of 150 milliliter packet. You know, here we go, I'm going to put in, how much is that? That's maybe 2/3 of it. But again, use your own judgment. That's a reasonably generous amount. I would have said you could probably get away with about half. You know, but hey, it's
Where's the fun in that?
end of the week, Saturday night. Who minds? Now, what's important now is that you don't immediately launch in with your chicken. You're just going to let that bubble for a bit. Okay, and that's going to thicken up and become glutinous and yummy and lovely. And that's the point at which you're going to add in the rest of your tarragon for that fresh kick. Here it is. Stick it all in there. Make sure it all comes out. Don't ever waste things in the kitchen if you can possibly avoid it, especially not egg whites. So, you can see that's bubbling away, and you've got to keep an eye on it because cream will thicken, double cream that is, will thicken when you bubble it. There we go. And when you sense that it's becoming uber unctuous, that's the time to put your chicken back in. Oh, I think, look at that, he's becoming, you can get the sense it's becoming a bit yellower. Oh, look at that. I'm going to leave it a bit longer, but you really got to keep an eye on this. You can't go off and, you know, have a Coke, phone your girlfriend, go and play games online and do stuff like that. You've got to keep an eye on this, and your attention, you know, will be repaid in the final dish. I reckon that's getting to where I want it to be. I'm now going to put the chicken back in, just to warm through. Make sure that it's really coated. There you are, look at that. Look at that. But don't cook it anymore. Alright, you're going to switch it off now. That's why you can see that it's got to a nice consistency, and once that's happened you can switch it off. But don't cook the chicken in the sauce like this. There are recipes where you can cook chicken in a cream sauce. There's an absolute classic called Poulet au Mori where you cook it in cream and mushroom. But don't do it this time because it's already done. If you try to cook it like this, it'll become very tough. I think that's fine. I'm going to leave that now. 0. Here we go. And withdraw it. Here are my potatoes. Now, because it's been a very busy week, you know, and I've forgotten various things. What I would normally do there is add a little bit of parsley to the potatoes or something like that. We haven't got that tonight. That doesn't matter. But there you have a dish that is, what can I say? It's my dish. Well, it's not my dish. It's a classic dish. It's absolutely delicious. It really is, and it's something that you don't think of doing all the time if you're used to sort of simpler food. But really, it's not difficult to do. Everybody likes it, adults and children alike. And this is your way into, this technique of cooking, the fricassé, is your way into doing things in all sorts of different varieties of meat. You could do this with pork. You don't have to use mustard. You don't have to use mushrooms. You don't have to use tarragon. You can use almost any type of herb. But the technique is the same. And it makes for a really satisfying meal. A really satisfying meal. What we're going to do now is we're going to sign off, okay, and we're going to sit down in a few minutes' time. We need to let the chicken rest a little bit, by the way. Just, you don't eat it straight away, just let it sort of calm down, and then it'll become even more unctuous. And you're going to eat this dish. I would suggest you can drink it, ladies and gents. This is not for you boys. With whatever you like, of course. What goes particularly well with something like this is a rich white wine, something like a Chardonnay. We're going to drink a South African Chardonnay with this from Rupert and Rothschild, a good one. It is worth an excellent bottle, and you'll see why when you taste it. Now then, we're going to see you, I think, next week, or maybe even the week after. You know the drill by now. You're going to stay safe and do the right thing. You are going to help out at home and look after your family, and you're going to think good things, and we're going to see each other very soon, I hope. All right, that's it for this week. Good luck with the dish.